Well, hello. Pastanaga concept was born when I was reviewing some content, and I realized that we were missing some parts on Plone. And technically, Plone is competing maybe with Drupal or some others, but on the front end, we're not competing with Drupal. We're competing with experiences that the user has with the Twitter application, with the Google Drive, and it makes things more complex. And we need to create something on top of that we can manage, no? And together with Guillotina, I was starting thinking how to manage this complexity, to try to simplify, and I will say kind of give a path to all the community to have kind of a guidelines, not only visually, but also about the user experience and how to even mark up the things, okay? So this is the idea of Guillotina. It's trying to put the steps to make something great and orient everything and everybody to work together, okay? And the main goal is simplify and focusing the people, okay? And so sometimes I realize that because we're maybe sometimes too much oriented on development, we forgot about the user, no? And the user is just trying to do small actions on Plone, no? Our users are not admins, are just people editing the content. So what a user wants to do in Plone, it's mainly editing, checking maybe a folder, and adding a new content, no? So that's a concept that born to, for example, simplify the toolbar with just 3 main actions, no? So this is theoretically, and visually is just orient the user to have the 3 main actions and remember the user which is the main action probably on that flow, no? So the user don't want to think, no? The user wants to kind of follow the story and be oriented by the application itself, no? So one thing that we need to review in Plone is the workflows, no? The workflow, send back, retract, return. It's too difficult, no? And then using the happy path action to orient the user helps them to know what's happening, no? So if a user wants to go to Rome, don't tell him the route, no? Just tell him the final place, no? So the idea behind this new concept is just, if I'm in RAF, I want to make it public. Don't tell me how difficult it is to go public. Just make it public, no? And at actions level, the user doesn't need to read, just to follow paths, no? So an approach is to just show intuitively which are the actions, no? And if I'm okay, I will click on the arrow. But if I'm not okay with the action, I will dismiss it. But that action, it's an icon that can mean several things, no? So what you are really doing is to avoiding the stress on the user, like, hey, go ahead, no? You don't need to understand if it's okay, if it's done, if you are agreeing, just do it, no? And also, I want to add some kind of reassurance to the user, so he has some kind of hints that let him to understand the situation on Plone, no? So, for example, playing with colors to understand if he's editing a draft content, an internet content, or a public content, no? Or even for example, this is a mobile toolbar. In the color on top give you the hint of a draft or document, okay? Then, because Plone is complex inside, we need to give a bit of visual hierarchy, no? It means to order everything, to have a bunch of elements that we can reuse, and so we don't need to think when we develop, what are we developing, no? So we have, for example, titles, we have legends, we have forms, and we maybe have 30, 40 elements on all the code that we can reuse, and anyone trying to help the community can understand quickly what he has to use, no? Also, another lack on our system is that because everything is going super visual, no? Right now, we have a complete lack of icons, no? So we are trying to to provide an icon experience. So I did that SVGs to provide any kind of icon that we need for any development, no? Then navigation, okay? Before you do an action, you need to understand which is the consequence of that action, no? So also to do so, I try to conceptualize with small hints that, for example, if the arrow is going down, the selection will happen there. But if the action is going to the right, the selection will lead you to some place, so the user knows that the view changes will happen there, while the history will happen in another place. Also, at reusability level, if we can kind of formalize all kind of contents, can be similar, reused, and oriented to have that kind of I don't have the word right now, but this stability, okay? And to do so, I'm trying to generate patterns that are not just visual. I mean, are patterns at accessibility level, at UX level, and at visual level, no? So to create consistency, no? So at accessibility level, which is really important for Plone, we need to follow the standards and make everything reusable and accessible. So the idea behind the patterns is to make easier to become involved, because you know everything available on the system, and orients the community to help. No? So if someone new comes, he knows where are the elements, which are the elements, and how he can manage the elements to create new contents. Then this is another trend that we need to take into account. Right now, the UIs, instead of giving all the possibilities that you have at some point, are trying to orient the user. So show only to the user what he needs to know at that point. No? So if I need to edit something, just show the consequences of that edition. No? And if I need to remove something, just show me that. No? And so, for example, when I am editing a link, the moment I am editing a link, I only need that, inserting the link. I can type that link, no, there. If I want to create a new document, the moment I create a new document, I just need a UI, sorry, because it seems that it's really wrong visually. But the moment I need to edit a UI, I only need to save, add a new content, or maybe change the state here. The contrast is not showing that you can edit the title and the content, but well. And so, for example, in this more complex UI, when you are selecting an element, you are probably want to make it bold, make it italic. When you are editing a link, you want to edit a link. When you are changing a color, you only need the colors. So the user only has the essential path of the consequences of the actions. No, if you are deleting an image, you have a context dialog that leads to confirm this to remove the image. Okay, so at the end we need to focus on the user, no? And so Pastanaga, it's born to try to explore that conditions to be added to Plone or Guillotina, no? So let me show you some examples, no? This is a simple login to Plone. When the user logs, no, just by clicking here, it's connected, you are logged, and so now you can access to the main menu and open the options, no? Only 3 options. Other options are hide in the more options icon, because rarely ever you will need to change the other elements, no? So let's follow the flow. If you go here, because you are an admin, you get all the extra information. But this is not a common user. Okay, now I will open the history, which is not called history, by the way. And in here, the user knows the changes made on history. Also, at visual level, you can realize that it gets public just after the yellow. So you have also visual hints to understand what is happening, no? Also, even for the administrators, we need to order the site setup. This is an example I made. So it's all the site setup and extra contents behind, no? And then at desktop level, no? At desktop level, the contrast is really bad on the screen. At desktop level, the user wants to open the edit toolbar. He gets the toolbar. He wants to edit the user. He knows that elements of his user profile. Now he is, for example, accessing the more options. This is the history again. And for example, if you want to add to the you want to go to the folder contents, you get a simplified view of the folder contents. You can open some menus. Everything is like more in context. And these are the examples, for example, of the folder contents and the user view in a mobile, where we are reusing everything, really. Okay, this is the toolbar adaptation. So if I want the toolbar on top, I can drag it just there, and it appears on top. Sorry, I skip it. Well, then, to reduce the components, I create a kind of a bunch of visual elements to try to simplify everything that we have. So those are, for example, the form elements, checkboxes, radio buttons, toggles, the dialogues. Those are the calendar and color pickers. Content rule settings. If you see, I'm reusing the structure, so it has a hind that it can be handled. It has the visual status, and I have here the edit or remove. So that kind of visual structure will be repeated across all the platform. This is an add content rule. This is, for example, a really complex rule creation that I cannot see nothing, but well, there is the if, and you see that the structure of editing and removing and drag and dropping is there. And then to do so, I need to create a reference for everybody, not only for developers, but for everybody. So we are trying to create that visual reference. In mobile, we are creating bigger elements than in desktop, because in mobile you have a finger to touch the screen, which is really unnecessary for desktop. While in desktop you can be more compressed and has smaller touch areas. For example, for the dialogues, we have the icons. We have how to build a warning. And then even we are providing the best markup. Okay, this markup it's like kind of ideal, no? With all the roles and area life and area labels and so trying to cover not just the HTML5 or 5.1, also the way areas to make everything accessible. And okay, this is what I'm doing. But then how I can give the information to the community. And to do so, we're trying to document like this. So those are the alerts, the classes affected, the example of code. There is another kind of element that did the note. And so in here, for example, you have a confirmation dialog with code examples, so the community can take this as a reference and reuse. These are, for example, the explanations of buttons, and when we have to use things which code and the states of the buttons, if the buttons has tooltip, if the buttons have shortcuts. For example, shortcuts is something that we are not using right now in Plone, but the simple way of saving something is just typing on the keyboard Control Save or Command Save. And this is simpler than going with a mouse or with the finger to some place. Okay, so. Well, this is the concept for Guillotina and for the new Plone, and I prefer that time to have questions from you, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Albert. This was impressive. Any questions? See your hands on the... No question. That question's great. Eric.
Yes, thank you for the great job. That's awesome. Just one question. At the moment, do you have any idea which could be the CSS framework we could use to implement it? Do you have any preference?
I don't have any preference at any level. So I'm not thinking on frameworks, but thinking on which is the... So if I have to do a dialogue, there is several ways of doing that. But the best dialogue, so covering accessibility, having the context in mind, having the structure of the elements, is what I'm proposing. So if at the moment to implement that, I know that we cannot go directly to that because that's crazy. But at least we need to orient to that, and maybe we can select the semantic UI or whatever, or even Bootstrap. But this is an example. I'm mainly using classes based on Bootstrap because it's what I'm used to, but it's just an example, what I said.
Hi, Albert. These icons and all this stuff, is it available somewhere now?
Yeah, it's available, but not everything and not in the same place. We need to organize, really. The icons are in GitHub. This is still internal, but some people has access. But yeah, at some point, everything needs to go somewhere. My problem, probably I need to change my way of working because I'm working in a Sketch right now. But you don't.
Figma.
You don't. I cannot give you contents in a Sketch because you will never be able to use that. Right. So maybe I need to transform into Google Docs or something so the community can manage.
There is something called Figma. It's basically like Sketch and Google Docs put together. And it's cloud-based. It's something that
the community needs to discuss, but I'm open to anything.
Okay. So we could talk about it.
Any further questions? Okay. Yeah. I think you covered everything.
It was shorter than expected, yeah. Sorry for the contest because I'm seeing nothing there. There is a lot of information missing on the screen.
That's a projection here.
Okay. But well.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm